So here are my starchy, mushy potatoes. What can we do with these? Even though they have onions in them, they'll still make great potato bread. Let's make potato bread. This is a new method I have. I don't know if it's a new method, but it's a new way I do things. Now here is, in here just, I don't know, a cup and a half of warm water. I got this idea from Ma Ingalls. Some sugar, some yeast, and a scoop of flour. And I just mix this up into a slurry on the whisk attachment. And I cover this and put it in my oven with the light on. And in about an hour and a half I'll come back and we'll make our bread. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these potatoes and onions and I'm going to put them in my little blender here. Let's make bread. Here is our pureed canned potatoes, a knob of butter, I'm going to say a half a stick, 1 egg or 2 eggs, or the equivalent in powdered egg. And here is my bread sponge. This is how I always start my bread. I may need some more liquid, but we'll see. Look how nice and foamy that is. Now, if I do need more liquid, I'll just add a little bit of milk or warm water. You don't have to add all of these things to bread, but it does make a superior quality bread. Now let's get this lifted up. Get this started. Never put your mixer on higher than 2 when you're making dough or using the dough hook. I'm going to add a scoop of flour. No measurements, folks. This is the way this works for me. There goes in our pureed potatoes. Howie's not convinced that he won't taste the onion. I'm going to prove him wrong. Here goes our eggs and our butter. He's worried about his toast and jam. Going to put in a 3-finger pinch of salt. And I'm going to start adding more flour. And I'm going to let this go and see if I need to add any more liquid. I'm going to let this knead for about 5 minutes. Well, it looks like we're not going to have to add liquid after all, but we are going to have to add another scoop of flour. Well, it's still pulling away, but that's okay because we like our dough a bit sticky. I'm going to put a little bit of flour on my kneading mat here because the dough is quite sticky. So this is where we will work in our extra flour. Take our dough hook out. Make sure you put that right in warm water in the sink right away, or it's going to become hard as rock on there. So now we're going to take our bread dough And scrape it all out with our dough scraper here. That's nice and sticky and fluffy feeling dough. This is, I used to make my dough so that it would, I'd have to, you know, let it rise in dough form and then punch it down and put it into bread. Starting it as a sponge makes a huge difference. Howie likes big slices. There we go. Cut this in half. My mother used to make potato bread. She would boil a potato and then mash it into the water so it was milky and thick. And then she would add it to the dough. It adds nutrition as well as starch. Well, you're only getting 2 loaves, Howie. You never know, folks, when I start making bread, if I'm going to get 2 loaves or 3. There we go. Cover them with our bread cloth and let them rise. All right, let's have a look. Ah, beautiful, Clark. These are going into a 375-degree oven for 35 to 40 minutes. All right, our timer has gone off. Look at this beautiful bread. And I guarantee you, Howie, if you want to have bread with jam, it's not, you're not going to taste any friggin' onion in it.
We shall see.
Yeah, that means you have to cut into a fresh loaf of... There's that nice hollow sound we're looking for. Don't have bread and jam for dessert. All, you know, people will say I'm killing you. All right. So our bread is on the bread cloth, back under the bread cloth, and we're doing this just to soften up the loaves. It's nice to have crusty loaves, but it's not easy for cutting for sandwiches. All right, so here is our potato bread. The potato onion bread. I cannot smell onions in that. But Howie wants a piece with his supper, even though I still have a half a loaf of bread from my last baking. But he always got to have a piece of fresh bread. So we're going to cut him a piece of bread. I got to go put this back. And if this bread works, well, I'll tell you what. Excuse me, there'll be just another use for them sludgy potatoes. I'm going to take a bite. It's super soft, super dense, but super soft and spongy. Can't wait for Howie to try it. You're testing the bread because you said you would be able to taste the onions in it. And I only made 2 loaves out of a pint of that potatoes. And it's nice and fluffy and dense. Yeah, and you'd have no problem putting jam on that, would you?
None at all.
Okay. This is the Miss Wolfie from our half-acre homestead saying, score! We have one more thing we can use those sludgy potatoes for. They're not going to go to waste. Mwah! Take care, God bless.